Heroin. We're seeing this drug hit all demographics and backgrounds. No one is immune. We'll learn about a strategic initiative to educate the community to the dangers of this drug.
The Organized Crime and Narcotics Division is responsible for all the long-term narcotics investigations throughout Fairfax County. We also do the street-level vice-type crimes, your prostitution, street-level drug dealing, and we also are involved in money laundering investigations and gambling operations.
Opiates produce a sense of well-being or euphoria that can be addictive to some people. Opiates are legitimately used for treating pain. When used for pain relief, many people develop tolerance, meaning they need more and more to get the same effect. Some people go on to develop an addiction to opiates. They begin to obsessively think about getting more opiates and in some cases engage in illegal activities such as double doctoring.
Over the last several months, one of our bigger issues has become the opioids. We deal with a lot of distribution of prescription-type drugs, Oxycontin. We also deal with heroin. Years ago, a heroin addict was considered kind of the lowest of the low. They were the junkies. They were the street level, your prostitutes, your hardcore users. And that's not the case anymore. You know, a heroin user now can be anybody. You know, we've seen UVA kids, very intelligent, very articulate kids, have graduated or in the process of being in the school, come from well-to-do type families, and they're addicted. They're addicted to the opioids. They can't get off of it. Leads to, the next progression, which is, if I can't get the Oxycontin, I'm going to get the addiction however I can. I'm going to get the heroin. Once you get into that cycle, it's very vicious. It's very addictive. Heroin's a very tough drug to get off. It makes people do things that's unbelievable.
You know, we really are seeing an increase in the use of opiates, all opiates to include heroin. We are seeing a lot of young people come in. When the young people come in, they still have not had a lot of experience with life. It's harder to get them involved in treatment. It's very challenging, and the drug is very powerful.
A high dose of opiates can cause death from cardiac or respiratory arrest. Tolerance to the euphoric effects of opiates develops faster than tolerance to the dangerous effects. Therefore, people often overdose by mistake because they are trying to get a higher high and take too much.
One of the things that, regardless of what a drug it is, you're never going to have as good of a high as the first one. So you're always chasing that first high. You see the purity content, you see people pushing the envelope, and they're not afraid. They're not afraid. Heroin's much more mainstream now than it's been. You have the younger generation that doesn't have the fear of heroin.
It's typically people ages 18 to 24. We certainly see up to age 30. We didn't used to see those types of people coming into treatment quite as much. And when they did come in the past, it would typically be marijuana, maybe a little bit of cocaine. But now those people are coming in and they're addicted to the opiates. And the opiates are one of the strongest drugs out there. Well, I think there's a number of things that make it very challenging to help individuals get involved with treatment. Number one is there is still stigma out there. It used to be many years ago that people had a thought in their head of what a heroin or opiate addict looked like. Now we're seeing young, socially mobile professionals, young people that have been going to college that also are having addiction issues related to opiates. So I think there is a stigma issue. There's certainly the issue where people believe, oh, it can't be that bad.
I think the best thing you can do, just my opinion, have the conversation. Don't be afraid to have the conversation. Don't be afraid if you see signs, address them. Many times, those missed opportunities lead to tragedy. It only takes one time for an overdose death to happen. We have seen situations where the first time someone tries heroin, they overdose and they're done, that's it.
Families can be ripped apart. Addiction is a very, very serious, potentially fatal disease, and there's too many Fairfax County families out there that know that firsthand.
Well, when your children are young, like 12 and under, you're enjoying their innocence and all the wonders of the world seen through the eyes of a child. And then this teenage thing hits, and along with our son's teenage years came his drug addiction. Well, my son Jared was 15 when we realized that Perhaps his introduction to alcohol was more than we thought. And what happened 2 years later, we realized he was severely addicted to not only alcohol, but marijuana, and that he'd been experimenting with a wide range of drugs.
So people come in seeking treatment a number of different ways. Sometimes they have been referred by outside entities, the court system. Sometimes the families bring them. Sometimes they've run out of resources to continue to get the drug and they don't want to go into withdrawal, so they need help. The important part is we want to be there and have services available at the moment that they're ready to receive services.
And it was after that second treatment program that we started noticing the nice personality of the child we had when he was 12 and under. And now that he's 25, I mean, we have a wonderful relationship. And I would say that each one of us is living a life beyond our wildest expectations.
One of the things I think the state has done a really good job recently is we're looking at several new bills to pass to be more tougher on those that distribute heroin that lead to the overdose deaths, where we're going after them for, the second-degree homicide. Those are things those are good changes. We want to be able to put these dealers away for years, 40 years. We're using more tools. We're using our grand juries more. We're starting to offer more of the help up front. We're not targeting those that are addicted. We're not looking to go after the people that are in the throes of addiction. We're looking to go after those that are distributing it. And that's a culture change for law enforcement. And that's a mindset change. Typically we have always gone after, hey, if you had possession of heroin, you're going to jail. Okay, well that somewhat solves the problem for that night, but that doesn't get the person off of heroin. That doesn't get the person the help that they need. They may go to jail, they may detox for a certain period of time, but that doesn't necessarily stop the problem. Once they're back out in the community, are they likely to go and relapse? Yes. So we're trying to do the outside the box thinking now, where we're trying to get partners throughout the county agencies to offer the services up front to, as part of maybe the culture when we're going to court. Instead of jail, it's rehabilitation. Make them a productive member of the community again. Nobody sets out and says, hey, I want to be a heroin addict. Nobody grows up to say, hey, I want to do heroin for a living. But the problem is once they're there, it's hard to get them out. The common theme now is you can't arrest your way out of the problem. True, we can't, because the problem's always going to be there. And what we can do is try and make, the education more prevalent. Educate the community on the dangers of the drug. Educate the community on how to get help if one of your family members is experiencing this. Educate the community on the resources that we have available. Using the rehabilitation, getting those partners involved and getting the people to help. And then educating ourselves on how is it being dealt, where is it being dealt, what are the new methods, what's involved. That makes it all, the combination of all of that makes it more productive. We want to target those that are distributors. That's our goal.
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please call, reach out, save a life.